Hi, everybody, and welcome back. My name is Paige Elizabeth, and this is Creating Consciousness. And today I had a special guest. Her name is Ray Indigo. And I brought her on specifically because she has a lot of good secrets for skincare for women over 35 and 40. So I'm going to let her introduce herself because she has quite the resume. So, welcome, Ray. How are you?
Thank you. Thank you. So I'm Ray Indigo. And before I started a fresh skincare company, I used to run an international yoga school and specifically with a focus on therapeutics and regenerating tissue of all kinds. I specialize in healing ligaments. And I also did the mind science and meditation because if you're in a stressed out state all the time, it's not going to heal because your chemistry is all off.
Mhm.
So I started a fresh skincare company. Really, I started it for myself to fix my own skin from all the touring. When you're flying, you really get a lot of damage because there's not the protection in the atmosphere. And I had hyperpigmentation. I was getting these lines, and I call it the hope method. I'd go through like an airport, buy, $1,000 in expensive skincare, the best brands, and I'd hope it would work. But I knew as a chemist that it really couldn't because there's two issues that we solve with our company. So the one is in any product, about 85% of what's in that product is done for shelf stability. And what that means is that there's fillers, additives, like really dirty preservatives, and a whole bunch of other things that makes it stable. Now, that 85% does not benefit you. It benefits the manufacturer. So 85% of your product, often it kills the skin's microbiome, which is one of the things that happens that creates aging. Because that means that bad stuff gets in and all the hydration and actives get out. So we do not formulate for shelf stability. We're a fresh skincare lab. We ship direct to our customers or they stop by. And what that changes is I don't have to put any of that 85% in. So it's 100% formulated for you. Now, the other thing that changes, and this is what's really cool, is even the natural brands are formulating for shelf stability. And what that means is that the most bioactive ingredients, they're naturally unstable. They oxidize, they change. A good example is vitamin C. So people don't know that vitamin C, once it's put into solution, you have 6 weeks before it's fully oxidized. So that vitamin C serum that you love, unless it was made fresh and you use it within 6 weeks, it's not doing anything. They don't tell you that because it's marketing, it's sales. They care about the bottom line. So we make everything fresh, which means, and there's much better antioxidants than vitamin C. And we have products that actually restructure the skin so that your skin grows back every 30 days. So we influence that growth cycle so that every 30 days it's in an improved condition, which means better rebound. So for instance, I can go like this and look, it goes back just like when you're young. So I'm 45, and that was not always the case with my face. I have great pictures of like my husband. He had severe eye bag, like rivulets down his face. It took me 2 years to lift that. And it's basically like a surgery through time. So what I teach for anti-aging, or I like to say pro-aging, is basically which formulations are going to give the right nutrition to stimulate that effect. And then I teach workouts from gua sha to home microneedling, which is different from what you have done in a salon. There's not the downtime. And all of these things are just like workouts. So it makes the cells go, oh, we have to come back to life in a better condition. And when you combine those two things, what you see is an ever improving skin repair cycle. And of course, a big issue is getting hydration in the skin as we age, because since the microbiome has been destroyed by most skincare products because of that 85%, which the preservative system is meant to kill bacteria, mold, yeast. So those dirty preservatives, they work right here too, killing all of your microbiome, which breaks the skin boundary. Once it's broken, you can put all the things on it you want. It's not going to work. And so then what happens is the skin, which used to be like, let's say it was this thick, it becomes every growth cycle a little less thick. And you'll see then we get sagging because we've lost the tensile strength. All of this can be reversed, but it's time. So when you work naturally, we're looking at every 30-day cycle, improving it. So I like to call it facelift lifestyle. It's things you do so that your face lifts naturally. So that's what we do. It's quite different from other companies. companies, and it means that an actual chemist has to do the work because I get fresh ingredients in. They're a little different every time. So if you don't know how to work with it, it's not just a blanket formulation like, okay, this much, this much, this much. No, I have to look at it. So that's why a lot of the other skincare companies don't, well, none of them do this because I guess they're not crazy enough and don't love it enough to make it. So, any questions?
Well, that makes sense though, in terms of like the microbiome and breaking down that skin barrier, and it also kind of answers the question about genetics too, that like it's not all just like predisposed genetic.
Yeah, so when it comes to genetics, what we have is your DNA is set; it doesn't change. But what changes is that you can switch on different genes. So a good way to understand this is we probably all had a friend that goes through a terrible breakup, and you don't see her for like 2 months. She was busy crying, and you just didn't. Your lives didn't intersect, and you run into her, and she's aged 10 years and 2 months. So this is epigenetics. It can go either way. And when we have negative emotions of a long duration, it affects our entire chemistry, which is a way of like almost telegraphing to the world that something is not right with us. So we have to handle, of course, our emotions. That's going to affect the chemistry. On the physical side, using I like to call it highly effective formulation. So 100% of what's in any of our creams, serums, scrubs is for the end user, for your face, not for our shelf life. Yeah, and epigenetics is the way to go. We can switch on the positive gene expression. Then every month you're getting better, healthier skin as opposed to the other direction. And it's very, very doable, but you have to have the right information.
Interesting. Yeah, I really like that. I've I feel like in some ways I'm kind of blessed because people was like, you have really great skin. But I've always kept it pretty simple too. Like I don't do all of the excess stuff. I've tried things like retin-A's and retinols and I hate them.
Retinols are terrible. So
I hate them.
retinols, yeah, these are called vitamin A class or structural retinols. And what they do, and I've been speaking out against them for over 15 years, is they basically work by creating an irritation that accelerates regeneration. So it does restructure younger, but what they didn't tell you, and finally they did a study and figured it out, is that because of that aggravation, it causes skin cancer. It also makes you sensitive, not just, they tell you just use them at night because it makes your skin basically not able to protect against the sun. It's actually 5 days. So from 5 days from when you put a retinol on your skin is cannot be in the sun. And I'm talking even like diffused light is too much. So they're terrible. We don't use them. What I use is something called functional retinols, which means functions like, but is not. And there's this one amazing molecule which comes from Ayurveda and Chinese medicine. It's one of the molecules in something known as babchi. It's called bakuchiol. And there's different grades of bakuchiol. And bakuchiol works by reminding the mitochondria how to behave as if they were young. And it also helps to activate natural stem cells and like your skin just grows back thicker, tighter, and lifted. And so that is what I use. And it's sun protective. So you can go in the skin with it. It's not a sunblock, but it makes your skin be like, oh, hey, sun, I'm good with you. It's a very different experience. No peeling, no side effects. It's just pure healing. And it has thousands of years of application for skin lesions. Leprosy is what they would use babchi to heal. It's
Oh,
an
wow.
amazing, yeah, it's an amazing ingredient. So I spend a lot of time researching the exact right molecules that are going to create this healing effect because healthy cells are beautiful cells.
Wow. Yeah. The one thing I have used my whole adult life actually on and off is alpha hydroxy cream.
Okay. How do
I
you
do
like
like
it?
I love it actually. It's
So
more gentle.
I would have to look up the whole formulation of your cream because alpha hydroxy is fine, but what are they putting it in is the question. And this is where you get into that shelf stability. So as a chemist, if you're making something for the shelf life, you have to do a lot of specific things to make it have that same texture over time because natural cream is a combination of water and oil essentially, and then whatever actives you put in it. And that wants to separate. They like wants to go to like with time. So shelf stability means you're not refrigerating it. you're not protecting it from light or anything. It's shelf stable. So what happens is that that wants to come apart. So you have to add all these other things to prevent it from coming apart. And those other things in most skincare is like petroleums. It's like all this stuff that you really don't want in your skin. Yeah. Alpha hydroxy is great because
Yeah,
it'll
I've used the same
exfoliate.
brand the whole time.
What brand? What brand is it?
It's just alpha hydrox.
What is it? I gotta look it up. Alpha hydroxy. What's the brand though?
No, that is the brand. I'm pretty sure that's the brand. It just goes by alpha hydrox.
Let's see. Yeah, probably
Red
not.
and
They would
white,
have.
red and white labeling.
Ah, okay, I found it. Here we go. Let's see what their ingredients are. 1 second. I'm always curious.
You know
If they
why I
are
really love it? It's less about my face these days, and I get the cream to go on my body because living in the desert in the winter,
mm-hmm.
my body
Okay.
appreciates it.
This is nice and toxic. All right, so we have yeah, so we have PEG 100 stearate, ammonium hydroxide. Cetyl alcohol is fine. Propylene glycol is used in antifreeze. So, we have C12 15 alkyl benzoate, toxic. Stearic acid is okay. PEG 40 stearate, I wouldn't ever use that. Cyclomethicone. So these are petroleum based. Polyacrylamide, not a good ingredient. Oh, we got some isoparaffin in that. Paraffins are quite toxic hormone disruptors. Laureth 7, polysorbate 60. There you got your preservative. Oh, xanthan gum's fine. That's a totally fine thing. Yeah, and I don't know what this one is. Imidazole urea and BHT is a preservative. It's a really dirty ingredient. It's a very dirty product. It's just like food,
But I don't think there's anything we can get off the shelf that isn't.
No, no, of course not. Shelf stability is the moment it's on the shelf. Like imagine if to make food products that are shelf stable. Yeah, that's one thing because when you open it, you usually refrigerate it, right? But for a face product, you don't refrigerate, so you open it. So they have to put all this toxic stuff so that when your hands go into it, the mold, yeast, and bacteria doesn't grow in the solution. And so that's why they all look like this. Even the natural brands, they're just not very effective because they tend to use cheaper ingredients. Like they're obsessed with jojoba and olive oil. I don't even have that in my lab. There's very, very lovely, luxurious oils that you can source from all over the world. The reason they use those is they're very stable. They don't change through time because, as you know, your olive oil will go bad. It'll get rancid. Well, that happens to a lot of oils, or what they use is refined oils. And when they refine it, you lose all your antioxidants, all the nutrient, it's just gone. And then like pomegranate's a big one. I use this unrefined pomegranate. It's thick, gooey, and dark, and it smells like the happiest day ever. It's just amazing. What they use is unrefined and they don't, or refined. They don't tell you, and it removes all of that. And it goes from a thick, dewy, dark color, which doesn't last forever. It's going to oxidize to this light pink color. Everything's been removed. Now it's shelf stable, and that's what the natural brands have to do to get shelf stability. Is they use refined ingredients because it'll sit on a shelf for 3 to 5 years and not change. Crazy, right?
And do you compound specifically to what people need?
I don't do it as a business model. Like if someone has, like I get some people with like very reactive skin, like rosacea, and I'll skin test them because if that one you can't predict, they can react to an ingredient and another person with rosacea will not. But I usually try to resolve the condition. So I can compound and make like stuff that's very specific, but I don't look for it as a business model because that can take hours of my day. So we usually we have over 80 different formulations. So there's usually something for a person. And if not, I invent a new product. Like if I get someone that comes with a problem and I haven't solved it yet, I just launch a new product.
And have you come across cures for, or is it just treatments for melasma?
I'm working on one. Yeah, I'm working on melasma and I always forget the name of it. The other vitiligo where they get the white.
Vitiligo.
Yeah, so I'm testing some things. I've also I make solutions for people that have like really bad moles. I had one that was like 4 moles that had merged into one, and It
Mm.
looked like something you have to have removed. And I was like, we took it off in 40 days, regrew the skin underneath it, so the mole fell off. And
Oh, nice.
that's a very specific treatment and a very specific protocol. But yeah, a lot can be done because what we do is activate because it's always growing. So I'm not fixing existing issues. That's the wrong way of thinking. I'm not fixing what's there. I'm growing new skin. So the problem goes away as the skin regenerates. So instead of trying to repair what's there, we're actually just growing healthier cells underneath. So literally the moles, hyperpigmentation, all of this is removed, not because I bleach out the hyperpigmentation, which is what a lot of companies do. They try to bleach the existing thing, but that just damages the cells. I grow cells that are not hyperpigmented.
So is it kojic acid? Is that, you know what I'm talking
I
about?
don't use, I don't use that.
But how does that work? Because that seems to be the big one that is used.
I don't use that. I have another way. I don't know. Like this
Oh,
is
okay.
that. Yeah, yeah. So I don't work with that because I do very different things from like dermatology and other because they're treating what's there. I'm
Mhm.
growing something new. So kojic acid, I'm guessing, because it's an acid, is probably gonna cause it to dissolve a little bit. So you're treating what's there. Yeah. Oh, I want to dissolve. It's a very kind of it's a very first dimensional thinking, you know. Oh, there's a spot, we'll try to get the spot to disappear, but the skin is always growing. So if you grow the cells underneath in a healthier condition, it disappears naturally, and now you have stronger cells. It's a very different viewpoint. Yeah, so no, I don't work a lot with those acids because I have things that are much more effective. You know,
Mm.
those are kind of, a lot of them are very cheap. It's a cheap ingredient and it does do something, but I have a much better solution. You know,
Yeah,
like
I would definitely be
if I
curious.
could,
And the protocol for melasma, mine is in check, but I did get a severe burn in Peru, and it unfortunately turned into melasma. So yeah.
I have something that may work for that. It'll definitely improve the entire skin because it depends on what the melasma is caused by. Um, we've had a great ability of like, I have one client that had like a birthmark that was really dark on her cheek. We have that faded, almost gone. So it that one disappeared actually really quick, about 3 weeks, because it just grew out of the pattern. Think of it this way, it's like your skin has certain information of how it's been. So to get it to grow differently, we have to disturb what it's been doing and give it a new idea, give it new information and new potential. And this is done with the workout. So you have to stimulate it. If you just use serums and creams, you'll get a result, but it's not going to be as good. It's like just doing diet and not going to the gym. You'll lose some weight, but you won't get the structure because we have to stimulate tissue so that it restructures. So does that make sense?
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, even just understanding how melasma works, I'm like, well, if the melanocytes have become radicalized, why can't we teach them how to go back?
That's yeah. It's not
You
go
know what I
back.
mean?
Yeah,
Like when I was
that's what I
taught what melasma was, I was like, well, why can't we just like correct it so that they go back?
because they don't think like I do, and they don't, and it can't be done with chemicals. You see, like most dermatology is all chemicals. And chemicals do not, it's not that all chemicals are bad because, you know, like for instance, hyaluronic acid. This is just a molecule. It can be in different sizes, you know, different chain lengths. It's wonderful. Yeah. But what do you put that in? What is the base that you're putting it in is the problem. The damage isn't necessarily the molecules they're using, it's the rest of the stuff around it. Yeah. So, and they tend to just love chemicals. Basically, it's not an innovative industry because how most skincare companies start is some person has a vision and then they hire a lab, but the lab has their formulations and they have their creams the way they make them and their serums the way they make them, and they just add in a few extra actives. So this is why all the skincare is the same, because it's all made in the same big labs in batches of 10,000, 100,000, however many they do, and that goes into a warehouse and then is shipped out to retail, you know, all over the world. Because of the way the manufacturing, the industry is set up, they cannot solve the same problems that I can. They have a limitation. If I had to formulate for shelf life, my products would not be effective. I'd be in the
Mhm.
same boat. But I don't. I tell people, it's not that our products explode or go bad. They're just really effective within a certain window of time. And that's when so we ship straight to you. I don't want anybody in between. I don't know what they're going to do. They're going to look at it funny, give it bad vibes. No, no, straight from our lab to you in the most effective way. And with that, we can change all kinds of things because it's just the right information, the right reminders, and the skin. Girl, if you haven't tried fresh skincare, it's totally, totally different. Totally different.
Yeah, these days at night, I actually use castor oil when I take a bath and then I get ready for bed. I actually use
Castor oil
castor
is
oil
great.
that's
Castor
what I
oil,
use at night.
it's a great one. So castor oil, um, it's going to penetrate all the way down to like the bone bloodstream level. So you're getting a lot of, it's very moisturizing and hydrating. It doesn't have any actives in it. So it's going to work as a hydration. It's a good one to create a skin boundary to reestablish the microbiome, but it's not going to cause the anti-aging effect.
Mhm.
It's going to, just through hydration and restoring the microbiome, it's great. It's much better choice than coconut oil or a lot of them, especially at night. I love castor oil. But if you had castor oil and you had actives in it, now you have something formidable.
Mhm. Yeah, no, absolutely. Like, I mean, like I said, I'm glad that I was introduced to you. I think a lot of women are going to be happy to hear about you.
Yeah, well, as far as like a lot of people as they age, get the skin gets more sensitive, and then you're it starts to get thin, you get the signs of aging, and then you start to look online and you're basically, it's the hope method and you're preyed upon. So how the industry works is they know this is how most people buy skincare. You'll try a brand, and so it'll give a stimulant effect. Okay. Because they know you're gonna jump brands, and then come back to them. And so all of them basically make stimulant products. And a stimulant product, like, if you're on a stimulant for 30 days, you're going to feel something, but eventually there's a degradation. And then you jump brands. You're like, you use it and then it stops working so good. And then you try something else. Well, that's because it's a stimulant product. It wasn't actually growing new cells. And it is full of harsh chemicals. And so people get in that kind of hamster wheel of, okay, to the next one, to the next one. We have 77.4 client return rate, which the average in the industry is 12%. Why? Once you use our products, you don't switch because it works. It's just healing your skin and nothing compares to it. And I'm just, I'm worried when the other labs are going to figure it out, but then their whole distribution is different because it's all retail. So they really, I'm a couple years ahead, but this is the future of skincare, just like fresh food. I remember when, I grew up in the 80s. I remember all the processed food, and my grandma would make marshmallow salad, like that was the way that people ate. And then we started to learn, oh, hey, that's not good. Fresh is better. But it hasn't. This is the largest organ in your body, and you can
Mhm.
touch it. You can rub things into it directly to influence it. But we're really behind on the information. And the reason for that is the cosmetic industry is one of the biggest in the world. It's huge. There's so much money in it. That average product too, that you spend like $200 costs them $5 to make. I mean, I can look at the formulation and know how much it costs to make it. And you're spending, so what you're actually paying for is the marketing, is the lies they tell you that ends up as disappointment on your face when nothing really works. I got really pissed off for myself. I was like, I fixed it for myself. And then people found out. And then I was like, well, I guess I can make some serums. And it just kind of, we've never advertised. It's all word of mouth. The whole business grew through word of mouth, which is women telling women, and men like our products too, but it's definitely mostly women. And we do like stuff for younger skin as well, but our primary focus is pro aging.
Mhm. Yeah, one thing I've noticed because Infania has trained me and just trying to be really fit. So, I don't do Ashtanga anymore. And I went through a phase where I was like, okay, now my muscle that I did have is gone and I don't want to lose my muscle. So I got into weightlifting and I'm really like into weightlifting now and leaning out. And I'm like, gosh, why does it always come out of the face first?
Oh, careful here, don't pull on this area. So
Yeah.
this area around our eyes, it has the thinnest skin and the least elasticity in the body. So whenever we rub our eyes or we put on makeup and pull it, we're stretching it out and it doesn't
Mm.
go back. Now I know how to make it go back, but it's a process. So first thing is be very gentle around this area. And then I can, I teach ways to make this all grow back tight and lifted, to get rid of the crow's feet over here. I can lift hooded lids, if because
Nice.
this happens to people. They're always on their phone and it pushes the scalp gets in the wrong placement. Now, see, I have hooded lids, but they don't do anything. So day after day, week after week, year after year, that all falls. So there's a whole process to lift this area so that, and it's amazing because you start to see this. People blink asymmetrically. This is all asymmetric. Things are not toned and tightened. So 2 minutes a day, you can lift your hooded lids. I have a video for that on my website under yoga for your face. How to lift hooded. It's totally a weird thing. You're like, oh, what am I doing? But it feels good and it lifts everything. So there's a
Yeah, no,
lot
I've
that,
just I've just noticed, like as I've gotten leaner, I'm like, I don't recall this being such an issue in my 30s when I would lean out, but now
yeah, yeah. So you need some workouts for your face because gravity's always active. And if we don't do something to instigate our body to, become more resilient, to lift up, it's going to fall. Yeah, that's just gravity.
now, one of the things I've noticed, and I just do not like it, because they always recommend, they're like, yeah, you should do the microneedling, you should do these things. I feel like women who do a lot of external stimulation to their face, their skin, it actually looks puffy but thin. You know what I'm talking about? That look where I don't like
I
how it
don't know.
looks.
Yeah, this is how it looks if you do a lot of stuff to your face. I do a lot of stuff. I do a lot of workouts. But I don't know what products they're using. Remember, it's the two things. If you're using products like the one that you have here that's full of cell destroying things with microneedling, you can't microneedle that into your skin. Are you kidding me? It's going to make the skin thin. It's going to have an opposite effect. So you have to combine good nutrition and a good workout. If you leave one side, like if you eat at McDonald's and then go to the gym all the time, you're not going to look great. And so, yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah, but what I'm referring to is like I feel like that when they do a lot of these things, it's they don't look full, like healthy full. They look just puffy, like almost inflamed. I don't know if that like
In,
I'm not a fan of all of these external treatments that they offer, I guess is my point. Like, because I don't like
oh,
the
oh,
what
I'm
it
not
looks like
sending,
over time. I'm like, I don't want that though.
I'm not sending people to doctors to have
No, no,
procedures
no, no. I'm
done.
not saying you are. I'm just saying like that is one thing that I want to stay away from as I age. I don't like how, they're like, "Oh no, you just need to do more." And I'm like, "But I don't like how your face looks." No offense, honey. Like, I know you're trying to promote that, but
I,
like I'm not
I
a
don't know. Yeah, I don't know who or what. Like, I just finished teaching a yoga for your face course, and I went through all the other courses and saw what they were teaching, and most of it's pretty useless or counterproductive. So I don't know what they're doing. I know that what I teach actually works, and that's why I have tons of people doing it. I don't know what they're doing. What I do makes your skin definitely not inflamed, definitely not puffy, definitely thicker and tighter. I can't speak to the process they're using. Because if you are like, let's say you're doing gua sha, if do the wrong movements, you're not going to have a good result. You can make yourself puffy, you can make yourself inflamed, you can damage the skin. All of it's just like someone goes to the gym, they have bad form. But I go to the gym. Why is my body all broken? Well, have you seen your alignment? Like, I don't know what they're doing, and I don't know what products they're using because like I have people, I had a woman who this is terrifying. She got basically it's like a deeper kind of microneedling treatment where they inject something into the skin, which if it's done correctly, using like your own plasma or something like this, is going to regenerate. But they put something in the solution and the result, this is so sad. She comes to see me, showed me the before pictures. I got her 2 months after this procedure. Her entire face had dropped, her whole neck was sagging. And I'm like, normally if this is done correct, it has the other thing, but because no one's a chemist, whatever they put into that solution can dissolve fat, can dissolve fascia, can dissolve, and it caused the tensile strength in her skin to just literally disappear. She aged 10 years from this procedure. It was so sad. And then when that happens, they don't trust anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and this happens, I get case after case of people that are really, they go to an esthetician to get something done. The esthetician is trying to make money. They assume that the products they're sent from the dermatologist or wherever they're getting it are good. But they don't look. They don't look it up. I can just look at it like I read the formula of what you're using. That's not going to ever, it's not going to give you, it's just paraffin. You know, paraffin's super, they put paraffin in your skincare.
What is paraffin?
It's one of it's often used in paraffin would kind of thicken up a solution. It gives it's going to give a certain feeling, like a pleasant feeling to things. It's one of the things that is often used in candles, like cheap candles, and they say, "Oh, look
Mhm.
for paraffin free,"
Okay.
because yeah, it's really really bad. Yeah, look it up. You'll be like, oh man, I don't want it. Look up all of these ingredients. I can send you a chemistry website that's neither, it's not all about organic. It's like, this is what that is. And then it's not going to tell you if it's natural, it doesn't care. It's a chemistry website you can look up. And oftentimes you'll find that on that site, when you look up a product, there'll be more ingredients than they list on their website because they hide their ingredients. No, it's so brutal out there for women. That's why I do what I do, because you go to the wrong esthetician, the wrong doctor. They don't check the molecules that they're putting into your face. They assume it's safe. The FDA looked at it. The FDA doesn't look at anything, you know? And then you go with a good intention, spend, thousands of dollars hoping to get help, and you end up in a worse condition. And you have to be really careful out there.
Yeah, now one thing I was taught by my natural doctor is like this was years ago. I had a spot on my face, and I remember, he basically said I ended up having it eye peeled off, but the thing he taught me, he was like, that's from your liver. Like that's literally like toxins backing up and the sun hitting them. That's what that is. He's like, we have to optimize internally if you want to keep your skin clean. So that is one thing that I have done for a long time is really make sure that like my blood, my liver, my kidneys, and everything are in good condition. So that way they're filtering properly. Do you help educate people on that as well?
I do. So when I teach people what I call facelift lifestyle, which has four components: what you put on your skin, the workouts you do for your skin, the emotional state. So if you have a lot of negative emotions, especially if they last for a while, we have to handle that, and I have practices for it. And then I teach anti-inflammatory diets.
Hmm.
So because people eat very, very differently. Some people are vegan, some people are carnivore, and everything in between. And so when it comes to reducing inflammation, I do a whole talk on that component. And then also I'm a big encourager of over 40 taking certain things that boost your metabolic function, because if the engine is not working in the cells, it doesn't matter what supplements, what you do. It's just your get up and go, got up and went. So these is things like NAD, NAC. I have a whole list of different supplements that I send to people that are over 40. And I'm like, consider taking these with all your vitamins. Because if you're taking vitamins and the metabolic function isn't working, well, then the vitamins, it can't even use it because the whole engine is slowed down.
Hmm.
So yeah, I don't love to tell people what to eat because there's a lot of emotions around the food choices,
Hmm.
and it gets really sticky, and then people feel guilty because it's hard for them. So I'll say, and if they want, I can give them a lot of information, but I don't want people to feel bad with their diet. And a lot of people are very in their habit of eating inflammatory foods. And I just tell them honestly, if you eat that way, I can only go so far with skincare and workouts. Because if you're building the building out of burnt wood, what can I say? Like, if the material that you're constructing this out of, which our body is an amazing instrument, it's always reconstructing itself. If what you give it to build out of is causing inflammation, and I get very deep into like inflammatory foods, which is different for different people.
Hmm.
Yeah. But it's a tough one because people have grown up outsourcing their wellness to the authorities. And the moment you look at diet, you have to really be the authority. You have to make the choice in your daily living to eat things and that are, higher in fat. Avocados, good fats. Like
Yeah.
I grew up again in the 80s with fat-free everything, and it was the
Mhm.
worst advice, ever. So
Yeah.
we have decades of that. So to yeah, the diet is huge.
Yeah, I went on an anti-inflammatory diet when I think I was 28 when my doctor put me on it. And I was shocked. I did not expect my knee to heal. I had a knee injury from yoga that was it just hurt all the time for like a year and a half. And that went away. And he was like, well, yeah, you gave up inflammation. And I was like, no, please, I need to understand more. Like,
It
please
can heal.
educate me.
So
And
yeah,
well, he just told me, he was like, well, when you take the foods out of the equation that are causing the inflammation, the immune system can reset. He said, when you're about 27, this is when people's immune systems stop modulating properly and all the itises start to compound and kick in. And so if you don't reset that, then the immune system just gets harder and harder to filter out. And so that's a
doctor.
huge thing I educate women on is just reset your immune system. That will alone do so much for you.
Yeah, a good way to kind of just because we say the word inflammation, and oftentimes people are like, oh, but we need to make it really tangible.
Mhm.
Basically, one way to think about inflammation, and I'll just talk about like tendinitis because that's a common one, tendinitis and bursitis. So what's happening there? Bursitis is a really interesting one, which kind of really shows. So bursitis is when you have like these little pockets of inflammation, commonly in the shoulders, the hips, but it can be anywhere. And what that means is that there's a fluid there that's a little too acidic and it causes the tissues to kind of erode or degrade. And so they can't quite heal. And then the inflammation will continue. And that solution, that in the acidic and really maladaptive solution that's creating the bursitis will leach into other tissues. So without a pattern interrupt, which is done by the system, like what you eat and taking things that reduce that, it literally can't heal. It literally it can't heal. So whenever I have like when I'm in my yoga school, I deal with bursitis and tendinitis. I'm like, listen, we got to modify obviously your movements to not aggravate it further, but also we have to modify the internal condition because if every day you're inflaming, the whole thing can't heal. And now what I see in a lot of older people is the aches, the pains, the joint pains, and all of this is just, from arthritises, rheumatoid arthritis to just joint pain. It's diet.
Mhm.
You change the diet and now the body, it wants to heal. This is a self-healing machine. We got to get out of the way with our bad habits.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's pretty incredible. And like I said, like I was 28 then, so literally like knee pain that I had for a year and a half gone, just gone. Like I was like, wait, I can fully rotate my knee again. This is amazing. And yeah, I dove big into that science. So as a result, as I've gotten older, if I've noticed, okay, my joints are starting to feel a little too much, I think it might be time to do another reset, so that I can keep that in check. And it's worked wonders. So that's why like it's a huge thing that I teach. And a lot of women are like, they get caught up in the weight loss part of it. And so they'll think, well, can I cheat with this? No, you can't cheat the immune system. You can cheat math with calories, but you can't cheat the immune system.
Yeah.
Like it's a completely different thing that we're doing here.
And
Like
that's exactly it. Yeah. And that's why I don't enjoy having the conversation because they've tried to find ways to cheat. And I'm just like, listen, do not waste my time. I get like short tempered at that because I'm like, do not waste my time. It's the same for me as it is for you. Okay. I would love to be able to eat whatever I want and feel good. I would love to be lazy on my couch and have my body be in a good condition. It's just not true. So you got to pick your heart. Yeah. If you don't take care of your body, then it's going to break down. You're going to have to live with that hard. Or you confront the hard and you change your diet, you get a good exercise program in. That's a different hard, but I prefer one hard or the other. And pick your hard because none of us get to escape hard. You're going to suffer in this world. So I like the self-inflicted suffering of eating, okay, well, I'd love to eat that, but I'm going to eat this instead. And I'd love to not work out, but I'm going to go doing, 200 squats at the gym until my butt's tired, you know? And that's just the reality we all live with. This instrument will go in the right direction if you guide it and have a dispassionate attitude, you know? Because after you eat the chocolate cake, it's fun while you're eating it, but afterwards, it's not like you feel it, like you feel
Mhm.
awful. You know, you get the sugar rush and all the, when I was doing like really strict anti-inflammatory, and then I ate some good pasta, like from Italy, like a good, I could feel it like a poison through. I was like, oh, because you don't know how inflamed the diet is until you give a couple of weeks or a couple of months of anti-inflammatory eating. And then you eat something inflammatory, you're like, okay, I got the message.
Oh yeah,
Download.
no, you feel it for sure.
Yeah, you totally feel it. So maybe I'll send them your way. I'll be like, listen, you need some help with your diet. I know this girl.
Well, no, that's what I do. I help people reset their immune system, reset their hormones. We get everything reset because everything just starts to just compound with age. If you don't interrupt it, it doesn't get better on its own. And we're all headed for the inevitable menopause. And I do not want the whole thing to get exasperated because I wasn't doing what I needed to along the way, you know?
You're
Um,
exactly right.
I mean, there's so many things that are going to happen at that point when estrogen drops and between the heart and the bones and just all of the systems of the body. And it's like you want to optimize so that way you have a fighting chance and to have healthy bones and good muscle mass and a strong immune system. And it's like now is the time, ladies. You don't want to deliberate.
Yeah.
And I
Yep.
always
Do
say,
not.
like, when it comes to choosing your heart, it's like you can choose consequences or you can choose results.
Yeah, I like that. I'm gonna borrow that. Consequences or results, because
Like,
you got to pick something that a no decision is still a decision. Consequences or results. I like that. Yep,
yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
And I'd rather have results.
Yeah. I I'd rather wake up. I'm gonna be a hot 80-year-old, you know.
Exactly.
I'm gonna be a real big, feisty 80-year-old with a cane. I won't have a cane, but I'm gonna be
Well,
feisty.
yeah, I mean, on my mom's side of the family, they live to be late 90s, 100, and I'm like, I could kind of I can see myself headed there. And if I
Yeah.
have to be in this body that long, I want to make sure it's functioning.
Exactly, exactly. And I have a lot of clients that are in their 70s and they think, well, it's too late for me. No, it's not. This is a regeneration machine, sweetheart. You just got to give it the information. Hey, we're doing something. Hey, lift that thing. And you start consistency. Just go a little, go a little, go a little. And the first couple of days are going to suck, but then you start to feel like the body will be like, hey, oh, we're going back to life. We're choosing life. Let's go. It's the body is an amazing thing. And I'm super happy that you know this and know these things
No,
and are out
definitely. It's so
telling.
important to just have the education. And like you, I find that it's hard sometimes when people have been conditioned that like this symptom is just permanent, or this condition I have, or no, like a pharmaceutical like Ozempic is the only way, or it's like,
The
you know,
Ozempic freaks me out because I last week I had a girl who's been on it. She's losing weight, and I look at her, I'm like, do you know what you're doing? The damage you're doing, I'm not sure it recovers. I mean, it stops the stomach from working. It
mhm.
makes your heart, you lose your heart muscles. Like, so apparently some people are getting like eye problems. And for what? If you go on an anti-inflammatory diet, you will lose weight. Like you just have to, like, I understand that we're addicted. I'm an intense person. So when I decide to change my diet, there's no wobbles. It's not like I'm like, oh, no, there's no wobbles. It's just this. So I have a difficulty sometimes understanding that you would poison your body so much and think that you're going to get like a good result. Okay, you lost weight, but the moment you're off of that,
Yeah.
you get right back with all these new problems and with muscle loss, and Ozempic destroys your metabolism.
When you
It
have to train your metabolism to do what it needs to do, it's dependent. Like I
Yeah.
tell people, I'm like, try carnivore. It has better
Yeah.
results with no side effects.
Carnivore or keto are the ones that I recommend the most. I'm like, just go, depending on their preferences. And then, I when I get people that are vegan or vegetarian, I'm like, there is a version of like keto. It's quite a bit harder, but where you're removing all the inflammatory things, you're eating very simple. I like vegetables a lot. I was raised vegetarian, which makes it really hard because I'm like, okay, it's like a psychological thing. So I tell people, I'm like, this is hard for me, but if you've eaten meat, yeah, because I've never eaten meat in my life, just fish now. That's my
Mhm.
big step forward. I tell them, I'm like, and I don't like this answer, but it's what I see is true. I see much better health outcomes on carnivore and keto diets than I do vegan or vegetarian. I'm not saying it can't be done well, but you have to really be aware of because when I was about 41, I gained 50 pounds because I stopped training. I'm not touring the world. I'm working in a lab. I'm ordering Uber Eats. I'm thinking I'm
Mhm.
doing good. And I turned into a balloon. And I was like, I go to do a forward fold. And it was like I had a basketball of inflammation in my belly. And I was like, all right, because when I launched this company, it was like really long hours. And I was like, now you've got to get back. It took me 3 months to lose that 50 pounds. It's 3 months, but I'm intense. I'm like,
Yeah.
very this though when I gained that 50 pounds, the pain, I got hip dysplasia, all these joy. I was like, yep, we've inflamed the whole thing. Well done. You went hard, you know? Well done, Ray. You went hard. And so you can change, but you have to commit and pick it. And I did it myself. Now I'm super fit. I go to the gym 5 days a week. I do yoga about 1 day a week now because I'm building muscle. I think it's more important than I have so much flexibility. We don't need more of that.
Oh, for sure. Like literally, like
We're doing
I
fourth
just,
series.
I just posted a video because I was born with a poor right shoulder. Like it doesn't sit, it sits forward. It doesn't sit properly. And I was just born that way. And then you compound the extreme, like there's one move where you have the leg behind your head and then you wrap it your arm. And like I would subluxate this shoulder regularly. And so now that I'm lifting heavy and training the shoulder girdle, it hates me.
I did. I did
I'm
all
just
that.
like
No,
trying to bring stability to this shoulder is a whole other thing now.
I used to be able to do double behind the back, not behind the head, like pigeon behind the back with
Mhm.
my legs without warming up. I was so extremely like insane. And the problem with that is the instability. It's not
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
useful. It was really cool to do that, when you're young, but the side effect of that is total instability. And I had to train stability for years to reintegrate. And I'm like, why was I doing that? You know, but I know because I was in the extreme yoga world for a number of years, and it's cool for advertising. You bust this, you're like, oh, I can put every leg behind all my heads, and then the
Well, one
outcome.
thing I don't talk about often is after I like retired from the practice, I have a lot of friends who practice TBM. I don't know if you're familiar with TBM,
Oh,
total
what is
body
it?
modification. It's an amazing system of healing. But my friend Megan, who was a practitioner, we literally had to put my uterus back together because I had contorted it so much that we had to do these things to try to get it integrated back into position so that it wasn't torqued and to get the blood flow properly back to it. Because I had just, you can't take your leg to that extreme and not take some of the inner parts with it. Like,
Yeah,
and it was just crazy because my periods had become so light. And I was like, I don't think this is a good thing. And it was because my uterus just didn't have the form and the structure that it needed to operate properly. So we spent about a year actually putting everything back together. So not like no one went up there, but like literally certain techniques to massage it, to correct it, to show the body what needed to be done to, yeah. So it
yeah.
was a process, and my cycles got much better after that. But I was just like, this is insane. People shouldn't be doing this. And then within the Ashtanga community, I became an advocate for like women should not be doing fourth series, especially if they want to have babies. Like you
I
just
I
shouldn't. It's not good for
I
you.
with you. I don't think Ashtanga wasn't designed for women. It was designed for young boys who are jumping
Mhm.
around. You got to tame them, like give them all these
Exactly.
moves, and it needs to be the same thing every day. And it's not appropriate for women. And what you see happens with Ashtangis is exactly what happened to you. The
Mhm.
body gets distorted. They destabilize the sacroiliac joint because we're all doing external rotations. Where are the internal? It's a very disbalanced practice, but it's perfect for young boys.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's who it was designed for. But I remember when I did Ashtanga probably for, I don't know, 15 years. I went hard in Ashtanga. I loved it. I loved that. I like the hard training, I love the community, and I like the intensity. And then I realized it wasn't the best for the body I'm in at the age I'm in. And I did have a lot of fun with it. I love that you're an Ashtangi. That's
Yeah, no,
so
and I
fascinating.
retired at one point I remember I was like, I'm done. I finished fourth series and people would say to me, why don't you practice it more? I said, fourth series is
I
not,
did it.
it is not a place to set up residence. It is a place to visit. That's it.
Yeah, you're exactly right. It's not, yeah, you don't live there.
Mm-mm.
I trained with Andre Lapa for a number of years, and that's the most extreme yoga ever. He has an interesting system, but it's not, it breaks bodies. I saw, and I have all the alignment training and bandhas, like at a very high level, so I could stabilize within some things. So it was safer for me. But I watched other students without that background, and I saw one person blow out their knee in a class. I saw hip injuries. And for what? For what are we twisting our, like, what? It's like, I've got all my legs behind my head. It didn't make me a better person.
Yeah.
It might have been a worse one because I was impressed with myself,
Hmm.
you know?
Yeah, it definitely for me, I finished the practice at that point and I was given the first pose and fifth and I was like, this is ridiculous. I'm not doing this. And that was it. I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm climbing down the mountain. Like I'm not, and
Yeah. Have fun up there, guys. I'm going to
yeah,
have
the view between third and fourth isn't vastly different anyway.
yeah, yeah,
Oh my.
exactly. Yeah.
And yeah, I do not recommend women stick their leg behind their head to that extreme. Even third, I'm like, again,
Yeah.
if fertility and babies and family is important to you, you might want to reconsider going that far because you might not be able to once you get there. And it's
It's
not worth
not as
it.
popular, and it's not as popular anymore. So I think that that's a big saving grace, because Ashtanga, you really need that 2 hour practice, a longer
Mhm.
practice. And I don't see many advanced practitioners anymore, which I think is actually good because it can disorder your life. I don't recommend it. I don't recommend people pursue that. I recommend they pursue ease and stability, that we're stable and easy in our body. And for women over 35, I recommend weight training. You need to build muscle.
Oh yeah.
And
Like,
and it, like in the yoga systems, there's nothing to build your hamstring muscle. Like I lost my hamstring muscle. Like there's just not, you're just stretching it all the time and then it gets
yeah,
all unstable. You need to go lift weights and build that muscular, stability.
totally. So let me ask you this. My friend who is 54, and she's like, yeah, I'm going through it right now, menopause. And she had, because I said castor oil, and she's like, you're like the fourth person to tell me castor oil. So she
Mhm.
tries it, and then she gets back to me, and she's like, I can't get my skin to absorb anything anymore.
Mhm.
Now, that being said, do you help women with that? Because you have a
Oh
customer
yeah,
your
I
legs
can
too.
totally fix it. Yeah, no problem. I just have to sear. Yeah, I can totally fix it. I just have to sear. Yeah, my products will definitely absorb into her skin. But the thing is that what you're actually talking about is when the skin, and I can pull up images of this, when the skin, let's say the skin is this thick for, when it gets thin, okay, what happens, everything's too close together and the structure isn't there, so the moisture has nowhere to go.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
so this is when we have to get workouts in gua sha, which creates that pressure, or microneedling at the home version, which is not the traumatic thing that people do at estheticians. There's no downtime. You'll be a little red for an hour because it stimulates. You have to get the skin to thicken so that it has somewhere for the moisture to go. Yeah. And then you have to use molecules that actually go into the skin and regenerate. So I can absolutely 100% fix that condition. But I have to see her and I have to see, is she in Las Vegas?
She is, and she also has some melasma on her face. So
Yeah.
I think she would be thrilled to talk to you.
Yeah. I just say come in because then I have, they can try everything. I skin match. I look at them and I'm like, okay, and I get their preferences. And then we skin match, and then we might change it after a month or two. We see, you know what I mean? Because this skin grows back very quickly, but the first protocol may not be the next protocol, because oftentimes we need to intervene and get something that's like, I have things that really hydrate the skin, but she might need something. I have to see it. Once
Okay.
I see, so if she can come in person and try a bunch of stuff, I can definitely fix that. Castor oil, so the issue is it goes into her skin, but it doesn't feel hydrated because there's nowhere for it to stay in the skin. If the skin
Mhm.
isn't, I haven't seen her, so I don't know, but if it's become that thin, and probably she has like a lot of senescent cells. So senescent cells are zombie cells. They're cells that didn't die because the skin got lazy, and they sit there and they leach inflammatory poison. And this is
Mhm.
the main cause of wrinkles, hyperpigmentation. So we have to get the senescent cells out of the skin and get the skin a little bit thicker, and then it'll hydrate easily. And yep, have her come see me, no problem.
Definitely, definitely. Well, it's been a pleasure learning
It's
from
so
you
nice
today.
to meet you. You should come by and you're here in Vegas, right?
Yeah, no, I will make sure we come by together.
Yeah,
Um,
come by together. It's super fun here. We have a great showroom. It's like you can try all the things and see what you love.
yeah, awesome. And then we'll have to do another video talking about yoga for sure.
Rants
The
about
yoga
yoga.
community and how it's changed and it's not the same.
I would love to, because this is very near and dear to my heart. I mean, I'm a yogi forever, but I'm more interested in the higher yogas, not the physical, the higher ones.
Yeah, well, and like we were saying before the call, that there's certain principles that no one's really practicing appropriately, and that's so
I'm not going into that can of worms, but I
exactly.
would love to. We pick a day and we can go hard.
Perfect. Well, I definitely appreciate your time and until next time.
So lovely to meet you, Paige. You have a wonderful day.
Thank you.